Hello, I'm Ricardo Levon, author of The Widow's Oil. Now, when reading this book, you might realize it's going to read a little bit different than what you're used to when it comes to writing stories of this nature. No, it's not going to have any futuristic spaceships or fantasy warriors or superheroes or like a modern day phone or something. It's nothing that crazy. It's just how the characters might talk or the description that might make everything feel a little bit more modern. This is because when people write biblical stories, they for some reason seem to give a vague dialogue or impression like they were living in the 1500s, 1600s, or like Shakespeare or King Arthur, or like it's something from an old English past. The problem is that English as a language that we know of didn't even exist when the biblical characters were alive. You could go back in time and no one would know what you were saying. The King James Version sounds like it does because, well, that's how English was written, regardless of the story, play, or article. That was English at that time. They just took the ancient Hebrew, translated to what they were doing for their, at that time, modern day history. They weren't thinking of us 400 or 500 years later. So now English has become more modern for us in the 21st century. But I've actually talked to people who keep thinking that the characters in the Bible would have spoke with the style of how English was written back in the day, which is ridiculous considering that there could be characters in the Bible that would have been around like 3,000 years ago. Also, the language vernacular does not even match up to how we think it would have sounded because even modern day Hebrew or some characters speak Egyptian to each other. Well, I guess technically Coptic. And those language syntax and functions are different from our own. Like I was about to say, our modern day Hebrew, when you change that over to English, words are in different orders or maybe certain things are emphasized a little bit differently. And that's modern day. You can even say that about English to Spanish or Spanish to English. If we was to do word for word translation, it would sound a little off to us. No different than a word to word translation from our language to theirs sounds off to them. So I decided I was going to write how the Hebrew citizens and now and everything else. I'm going to write like a book written for people living in the 21st century and not in the past. So it's like I'm taking something that you would have read from the past and then you're just translating it to now. So if the book sounds a little different, that's kind of why. Oh, but don't worry, none of the characters are going to say any like a pop reference or something ridiculous, or they'll make snide remarks that would sound a little too modern for us. It's nothing that crazy. And as far as speech, some of their slang or thing that they might say would have fit more then than now, for obvious reasons. But I want to write it like that as far as 21st century, so that way people can just enjoy the story, have a good time, and not get caught up in strange dialogue, word choices, or description. That's all. So for more on The Widow's Oil, visit lavari.com, Widow's Oil, where you can find free chapters, videos, charity, and travel spotlights. It's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, including hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions. Thank you for your support, and have fun.